Good afternoon, guys, and welcome to the podcast. Happy holidays. I've got Keith Ellis for you today, coming out of close to DC area, and he's about to publish the first book in history that costs $10,000 because it helps successful entrepreneurs achieve impossible goals. So I'm really happy to have him on and talk about his work and bring him on. So Keith, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Briefly introduce yourself and we'll dive into the conversation.
Okay. I teach, or I show, I guess is the best way of saying it. I show successful entrepreneurs how to achieve impossible results, impossible goals in their business and their life. That's pretty much the story. I've written several books about goal setting and about asking questions. And the latest book is called How to Make the Impossible Easy.
Yeah. And interesting. One question I have for you is, what do most entrepreneurs get wrong about success?
The short answer is they don't give themselves enough to do. I don't mean in terms of time. Most entrepreneurs are terribly overscheduled and they have no time to do anything. They don't have time to be with their family, catch your breath, do any of that stuff. But the part of what's wrong in their lives would be my suggestion is that they are not being ambitious enough. They don't set big enough goals. Most people treat goal setting for incremental progress. In other words, I want to increase the revenue of my business by 20% next year or whatever, that kind of thing. And I'm suggesting that what they need to do is to set an impossible goal, something they genuinely believe is beyond their capabilities, and then commit to that, which is not conventional wisdom, right? And then when they commit to a goal that is beyond their capabilities, suddenly all kinds of things happen in their life. Their focus is phenomenal. They're crystal clear about what they need to be doing during the day. They find they have more time during the day than they ever had before because they're not doing all the stuff, the little distractions and the incremental tasks that really are a waste of their time. That's really what this is about.
Yeah. And the next question I have for you is this idea of the 10x. You said exponential 10x. Elaborate on that.
Yeah. Again, what I'm talking about is people setting what they genuinely believe to be impossible goals. But impossible is one of those abstractions. What is an impossible goal? So what I did was I put a number to it that people could wrap their brains around. It's not anything that's fixed. You can make the number different. But 10x, 10 times, is a goal that seems so far beyond where we are in our lives that it's impossible. But you can also wrap your brain around it, right? So take something as simple as income. You could say, I want 10 times more income, right? You can understand what that means. It might seem impossible, but you can understand what that means. If it was 100 times or 1,000 times, that's just like your brain just fizzes out. It doesn't know what to do with that. But 10x is something that it can really handle. So what I do is, the title of this new book is called How to Make the Impossible Easy. The subtitle is The Astonishing Secret of the 10x Superpower. And the book is broken into 10 different breakthroughs. Each one can profoundly change your life. You put them all together and you have this, what I call a superpower, that can literally help you take your life, your business, and your life to a level that's 10 times beyond where you are now.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So the other question is, because I've been doing a lot of thinking and reading, and there's this idea of people think linearly, they don't think exponentially. And
yes,
you talked about your 10x superpower, and then also you talk about conventional wisdom got you here, but it can't get you to where you want to go. What does that mean?
Yeah, to quote a guy that I'm a huge fan of, a guy named Dan Sullivan, who's a terrific entrepreneurial coach, as he puts it, using a little biblical language, he says that what got you out of Egypt can't get you to the promised land. The same skills that got you out of Egypt aren't going to get you to the promised land. And what he means by that is what got you here isn't going to get you there. We are where we are in our lives because of what we've been doing, right? Day in, day out. And if you want to make a leap that is an impossible leap, if you want to go 10x, you can't do that doing what you're doing. Because what that implies, if you kept doing what you're doing, is that you could do 10 times as much of it. You can't. Nobody has that many hours in the day, right? In fact, when people hear this, what I'm talking about, this idea of making the impossible easy, one of the first reactions I get frequently is, I can't work any harder. I can't give any more. And that's the problem. You're maxed out. And what I want to do is help you think differently so that you actually free up time. The only way I will work with a client is if they are willing to work less than they're working now so that they can accomplish 10 times more than they're accomplishing now.
Yeah. It's because I had this client and she was struggling because she was thinking like just to get like kind of getting an interview and like all this old way of doing things. And then there was like, I encountered this other entrepreneur and she was thinking of different. She was like utilizing her skills to build things that would bring her more, that would bring more scale. So it's quite interesting because it's like this idea where it's like, what got you here won't get you there. I think there was another book. I believe it was Dan Sullivan. So next question I have for you is, this is like the elephant in the room, is you're the first book in history to cost $10,000. And a lot of people are going to be like, what makes your new book worth $10,000?
Yeah. And the short answer to that is, what's in the book is, let me step back. We've all read books that are worth $10,000. All of us have. We just didn't pay $10,000 for them. Maybe they were free. Maybe we got them out of a library. Maybe we paid $20 for them in a bookstore. But they changed our lives. This is that kind of book. It's worth every penny of $10,000. In fact, it's worth many times that. But what I decided to do is charge up front for it, charge the $10,000 up front, and then give people my Superpower coaching program. There are two ways to approach this kind of thing if you're in the coaching business. You can say, okay, here's my book for free, and now let me see if I can figure out how to sell you my coaching program. That works. That's a perfectly valid model. I'm just flipping this on its head and saying, okay, here's a book for $10,000. Oh, and then you get this spectacular coaching program for free as part of it.
Interesting. Yeah. And then, because I was just about to ask you, I was like, yeah, some people would charge 10,000 for their coaching programs, and you have a book that's 10, but I see where you're coming from now. Next question I have for you is, how do you make the impossible easy?
So everybody has done this in their life, but we don't realize it. We don't give ourselves credit for it. There's a famous quotation that's been around for decades. It's attributed to Muhammad Ali, the boxer. He didn't actually say it. It came out of an advertising campaign in which he was featured. But the quote is this: the impossible is not a fact. It's an opinion. And the way I look at it, the impossible is a point of view. The impossible is you telling yourself what you think you can't do. It's all about you and what you think your capabilities are. So if you change your thinking, if you increase your capabilities, then suddenly what seemed to be impossible, what you sincerely believed to be impossible, isn't impossible anymore. And there are many examples of this in our lives. Start with the simplest. When you're 9, 10, 11 months old, you're crawling around the carpet and you're trying to walk, and you fall down, and you try to walk, and you fall down, and you keep doing this. You're emotionally, psychologically, and physiologically incapable of walking, but you keep trying to walk, right? And then you walk. Same thing happens when you learn to talk, when you learn to read, learn to write. You can say the same process happens when you learn how to ride a bike, how to drive a car. But what happens is it starts out as an automatic process. The walking, you aren't really making a choice there. This is just how you're programmed when you come out of the womb, right? This is how human beings work. But you get to a point where you stop growing automatically. You don't get any taller, for example. You just stop growing that way. So growth becomes a choice. And the same process that enabled your automatic growth, the same instinct that enabled you to do these impossible things over and over again, that instinct is still there. You can still do these things. You just have to use the same process, and you have to make it a conscious choice, because the world isn't going to make these choices for you. So when you get to 16, 18, 22, whatever it is, when you start, you're on your own. Nature is no longer making you grow. It's not forcing you to grow. Then you begin to think, okay, what do I want from life? And now it's you driving the bus. And most of us want incremental progress. I want a little bit more of this, a little bit more of that. What I'm suggesting is the way to make your brain work, the way to harness this instinctive power that you've had since you were an infant, since you were born, is to make an impossible goal, just like nature gave you, right, when you were 9 months old. Nature said you're going to walk. You're not ready for it, but you're going to walk. You're going to learn how to talk. You're not ready for it, but you will. You're going to learn how to read. You're not ready for it, but you will. What you do is essentially give yourself the same kind of ambitious goal, and then you realize, I'm not capable of this, but I'm committed to it, and you start adding to your capabilities. And before you know it, you have achieved the impossible. And then when you achieve the impossible, the way the human mind works is pretty soon you start thinking, this is easy, right? Just it's easy to drive a car. It wasn't when you first got behind the wheel. It's easy to talk. It wasn't when you first learned your first words. It's easy to walk. Heck, it's easy to run. It wasn't when you first tried to stand up. So this is the process of going from what was impossible to what is possible and then easy.
Interesting. And along those same lines, because you talk about how entrepreneurs can achieve impossible goals, is that the same process that you were just describing, or is there additional ideas and insights you'd like to add?
There, again, in this book that I'm bringing out, actually the book doesn't come out. The book is broken into 10 breakthroughs. So there are 10 large chunks that are part of this. And I'll give you one example of it. When you say, okay, I'm committed to this new goal, and maybe your new goal is to be 10 times healthier, or maybe your new goal, because this can apply to anything. It can apply to your business. And I work exclusively with entrepreneurs. But and entrepreneurs can be anybody. It can be a doctor. It can be a chiropractor. It can be a plumber. It can be anybody, somebody who's starting a tech company. So I work exclusively with entrepreneurs. And whatever your goal is, when you decide to make this goal and you commit to it, and it's 10 times beyond what you think you're capable of, then you start to ask yourself, how do I do this? And that's the wrong question. The right question is to ask yourself, who can help me do this? I call this who thinking. And the reason for this is there are 8 billion people in the world. Whatever you need to achieve your impossible goal, there's somebody out there who can help you get it, probably many somebodies. If you can figure out how to add their capability to your capability, suddenly you have a much, much greater capability than you did before. And there's no limit to this. Once you start thinking about this, you realize, wait a minute, if the secret sauce here is to add the capabilities of others to mine, there's no limit. Whatever I can imagine, I just bring enough people in and learn to collaborate with them in a way that they get what they want and I get what I want. And suddenly anything is possible. And that's the beauty of this thing. So that's where the who thinking comes from.
Yeah. How can people find you and follow you and reach out to you and learn more about you?
So my name is Keith Ellis. And if you go to keithellis.com, KEITHELLIS.com, you'll find, actually what you'll find is an opportunity to book a discovery call with me. It's an actual coaching call. It's a free coaching call, but there's a reason I do it this way. It's because I want clients who are committed to doing the impossible. And I want them to be comfortable working with me and my process, but I want to be comfortable working with them too. I'm sure you figured this out in your life. Life is too short to be working with people you don't like or you don't get along with, right? I don't want to do that. So this free discovery call is a chance for the two of us to figure out if we want to work together. So you go to that page, you can sign up for the discovery call.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks so much for coming on and sharing your expertise, and happy holidays.
Same to you, Chris. Thank you so